Admiral Kexathera had been patrolling the outer rim of the Zephyrian sector for over 30 years. In all that time, he had never seen anything that made his scales stand on end quite like this. His 4 eyes were fixed on the main display screen of his flagship, the Eternal Glory, as numbers scrolled across it that simply could not be real. "Sir, the readings are confirmed," said sensor operator Vix Tell, her voice shaking slightly. The young Zephyrian had only been on duty for 6 months, but she knew enough to recognize when something was very wrong. "The object is moving at 0.85 light speed without any FTL signature we can identify." Kexathera's tail twitched, a sign of a deep concern among his people. "That's impossible. Nothing moves that fast in normal space without tearing itself apart." He turned to his communications officer. "Are you certain there's no distress signal? No indication of a ship in trouble?" "Nothing, sir. Whatever it is, it's moving with complete control. Perfect trajectory, no course corrections needed." The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Through the vast windows, stars stretched in all directions. But somewhere, out there in the darkness, was something that defied everything they knew about physics and space travel. "Bring us to intercept course," Kexathera ordered, "and signal the Bright Sword and the Star Hunter to join us. If this is some kind of new weapon, I want backup." Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison was having a perfectly normal day until the proximity alarm started screaming. He was sitting in the pilot seat of the Horizon's Edge, a cup of coffee in his hand and his feet up on the control panel. The ship had been flying itself for the past 6 hours while the crew took their rest. Rotation. "Jake, we've got company." Captain Lisa Grant's voice came over the intercom from the bridge above. 3 large ships moving to intercept. They look like Imperial designs." Jake nearly spilled his coffee as he sat up straight. "Imperial? Out? Here? We're supposed to be in empty space." "That's what I thought too. Get up here, we might have a problem." Jake made his way quickly through the corridors of the Horizon's Edge. The ship was not large by human standards, only about 200 meters long, but it was home to 37 people who had been traveling together for almost 2 years. As he climbed the ladder to the main bridge, he could hear the nervous chatter of the crew. Captain Grant was standing at the center of the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back as she studied the tactical display. She was a woman in her 40s with short brown hair and the kind of calm expression that came from 20 years of deep space travel. "What's our situation?" Jake asked as he took his position at the helm. 3 Imperial cruisers moving fast to intercept us. They're broadcasting standard identification requests, but they're doing it in old Imperial standard, the kind they used to use 200 years ago. Jake frowned. "That's weird. Why would they use the old language?" "I don't know. But it gets stranger. Look at their ship designs." Grant pointed to the tactical screen. "Those are definitely Imperial, but they're using technology that's at least 50 years out of date. Their engine signatures, their hull, composition, even their weapon systems, it's like they're flying museum pieces." Commander Amy Thompson looked up from her station. "Captain, they're hailing us directly now. Audio only." "Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was deep and measured, with the distinctive accent of the Zephyrian species. "Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Kexathera of the Imperial Fleet. You are traveling at impossible speeds through Imperial space without proper identification. Reduce speed immediately and prepare to be boarded." Grant and Jake exchanged glances. "Impossible speeds?" Jake whispered. "We're barely cruising." Grant activated the communication system. "Admiral Kexathera, this is Captain Lisa Grant of the Horizon's Edge. We are traveling through neutral space on a peaceful mission. We were not aware we had entered Imperial territory." There was a long pause before the Admiral responded. "Captain Grant, your vessel is not in any of our databases. Your language patterns suggest Terran origin, but no human vessel has the capability to travel at the speeds our sensors indicate. Please explain your technology." Grant looked around the bridge. Her crew was staring at her with confusion. "Amy, are we really going that fast?" Thompson checked her instruments. "We're at standard cruise, ma'am, 0.25 light speed. Normal for us." "Normal for us," Grant repeated quietly. Then louder to the Admiral. "Sir, we are traveling at our standard cruise speed. There's nothing unusual about our propulsion system." Another long pause. Then, Captain Grant, our instruments show your vessel moving at over 85% of light speed. This is impossible with any known technology. We must insist on boarding your vessel for inspection. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at the tactical display again, studying the 3 Imperial ships. They were big, heavily armed, and moving to surround the horizon's edge, but there was something wrong with their approach. They were moving slowly, clumsily, like they were struggling to match course with his ship. "Captain," he said quietly, "I don't think they can keep up with us." Grant realized what he meant immediately. "All stop," she ordered. The horizon's edge came to a complete halt in less than 3 seconds. On the tactical display, the 3 Imperial ships overshot their position by several thousand kilometers before they could stop and turn around. "Amy, scan those ships more carefully. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." Thompson's fingers flew over her console. After a moment, she looked up with wide eyes. "Captain, their top speed is about 0.4 light speed. Their weapons are plasma-based, probably effective to about 50,000 kilometers. Their shields are, well, they're not bad, but they're nothing special." Grant felt a knot forming in her stomach. "And us?" "Ma'am, we can do 0.95 light speed in normal space. Our weapons are effective to 300,000 kilometers. Our shields could probably handle everything those 3 ships could throw at us without even noticing." The bridge fell silent. Grant looked around at her crew, seeing her own realization reflected in their faces. They were not the ones in danger here. "Captain Grant," Admiral Kexathera's voice came through the speakers again. "We are moving to intercept your position. Please do not attempt to flee." Grant took a deep breath. "Admiral, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We're going to move away now. Please do not follow us." "I cannot allow that, Captain. You will submit to boarding, or we will be forced to open fire." Grant looked at Jake, who shrugged. "Your call, Captain," she made her decision. "Jake, take us out of here, best speed." The horizon's edge simply vanished. One moment it was there on the Imperial sensors, the next moment it was gone. Not just moving fast, but completely disappeared as if it had never existed at all. Admiral Kexathera stared at his empty tactical display for a long moment. Then he turned to his communications officer. "Get me Imperial Command Priority 1. Tell them we may have a problem." Director Zalnoth had been running Imperial intelligence for 15 years, and in all that time, he had never called an emergency meeting at 3 in the morning. But Admiral Kexathera's report had changed everything. Now he sat in his darkened office on the Imperial capital world, staring at data that made no sense. "Tell me again about the disappearance," he said to the holographic image of the Admiral floating above his desk. Kexathera's 4 eyes blinked slowly. One moment the ship was there, the next it was gone. Not moving away fast, Director, gone. Completely vanished from all sensors as if it had never existed. "And you're certain it was human?" The language patterns were definitely Terran origin. Old Terran, but definitely human. The captain identified herself as Lisa Grant, and she spoke with the accent patterns we've documented from the human colonies. Zalnoth leaned back in his chair. The human colonies were supposed to be primitive farming worlds on the edge of Imperial space. Humans were considered useful but backward, good for manual labor and simple tasks, but nowhere near advanced enough for serious space travel. The fastest human ship on record could barely manage 0.1 light speed. "I'm sending Dr. Ben Carter to your location," Zalnoth said finally. "He's our best expert on human culture and technology. If anyone can figure out what we're dealing with, it's him." Dr. Carter arrived at the Eternal Glory 12 hours later, carrying a small bag and a portable computer filled with every piece of information the Empire had about humans. He was a tall, thin man with graying hair who had spent most of his adult life studying the various species that made up the Empire. Humans had always been his specialty, partly because they were so much like his own people, the Altarians. "Show me everything," he said as soon as he reached the bridge. Admiral Kexathera played back the sensor recordings of the encounter. Carter watched in silence, his eyes growing wider with each passing minute. When the recording ended, he was quiet for a long time. "This is impossible," he said finally. That's what we thought. But the recordings don't lie. Carter pulled up files on his portable computer. According to our records, the most advanced human ship ever built was the colony transport New Hope. It was launched 50 years ago and could barely reach .08 light speed. The humans we've studied are farmers and miners, not starship engineers. Then how do you explain what we saw? Carter stared at the frozen image of the horizon's edge on the screen. It looked sleek and advanced, nothing like the bulky, primitive ships he had seen in human space. I think we need to take a much closer look at what the humans have really been doing. Over the next 3 days, Carter worked with the Imperial intelligence team to review everything they knew about humans. What they found was disturbing. The first red flag was the communication logs. For the past 50 years, human colonies had been sending regular reports to Imperial oversight stations. The reports were always the same: crop yields, population, numbers, requests for basic supplies. Nothing unusual, nothing that suggested advanced technology. But when Carter looked closer, he noticed something strange. The language in the reports was too perfect. Every report used exactly the same sentence structures, the same vocabulary, the same formal tone. It was as if someone had written a template and been copying it for decades. No one writes like this. Naturally, Carter told Zalnoth over a secure communication channel, these reports are fake. Someone's been sending us what they want us to hear, not what's really happening. The second red flag came from the monitoring stations. The Empire had sensors scattered throughout the galaxy to watch for unauthorized ships and potential threats. When Carter reviewed the data from these stations, he found gaps. Small ones, easy to miss, but they were there. Look at this, he said to Admiral Kexithera, pointing to a star chart on the bridge display. Every few months our sensors go offline for maintenance in this sector. Always the same pattern, always explained as routine updates. But the timing is too regular, too convenient. You think someone's been using those blind spots? I think someone's been creating them. The third red flag was the most disturbing. Carter had requested historical data about first contact with humans 200 years ago. What he found didn't match the official records. According to the files, humans had been discovered by an Imperial exploration team on a primitive world called Earth. The humans were described as barely space-capable, with only basic chemical rockets and simple computers. They were offered membership in the Empire as a protected species, which they accepted gratefully. But buried deep in the archived sensor logs from that first contact, Carter found something different. The Imperial exploration ship had detected artificial structures in the outer system of the human home world, large structures, sophisticated ones, that the official reports never mentioned. They knew we were coming, Carter realized. They hid their real technology and pretended to be primitive. Meanwhile, Commander Amy Thompson was having her own problems. The horizon's edge had jumped to a safe location 3 sectors away, but Captain Grant was pacing the bridge like a caged animal. We've blown it, Grant said for the 10th time. 200 years of careful planning, and we've blown it because we got careless. Thompson tried to be reassuring. Ma'am, we don't know that they understood what they saw. Maybe they'll think it was just a sensor malfunction. They're not stupid, Amy. They know we're not supposed to be able to do what we just did. Grant stopped pacing and looked at the star chart. Get me a secure channel to Fleet Command. We need to report this. The communication took 6 hours to establish, using quantum encryption methods that the Empire didn't even know existed. When Admiral Steve Collins appeared on the screen, his expression was grim. How bad is it, Lisa? Bad enough. We encountered an Imperial patrol and had to reveal our capabilities to get away safely. They know we're not what we pretend to be. Collins was quiet for a moment. The Council's been expecting this for years. We always knew we couldn't hide forever. He paused. How much do you think they figured out? If they're smart, everything. If they start looking at their historical records with fresh eyes, they'll see all the inconsistencies we've left behind. Then it's time, Collins said. I'll inform the President. Operation Daybreak is now active. Back on the Imperial capital, Director Zalnoth was reading Dr. Carter's preliminary report when his emergency communicator buzzed. It was High Counselor Vorth. the senior member of the Imperial ruling council. Zalnoth, I need to see you immediately. And bring that human, expert of yours. 20 minutes later, Carter and Zalnoth stood in the High Counselor's private office. Forth was an elderly member of the Kethran species with silver skin and glowing blue eyes that seemed to see everything. Dr. Carter, Forth said without preamble. How long have the humans been lying to us? Carter took a deep breath. Based on what I've found, sir, I believe they've been hiding their true capabilities since first contact. All of it. Their technology, their population, their actual territorial expansion. Everything we think we know about humans is probably false. Vorth's eyes glowed brighter, a sign of deep anger among his people. And their real capabilities? Unknown, sir. But if that ship was representative of standard human technology, then they're potentially more advanced than we are. Significantly more advanced. The room fell silent. Finally, Vorth spoke again. Then we have a problem. Because if the humans have been hiding technology that advanced for 200 years, the question isn't what they're capable of. The question is what they're planning to do with it. Outside the office windows, the lights of the Imperial capital stretched to the horizon. Somewhere out there in the darkness between the stars, humanity was making its own plans. And for the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire was afraid. Emperor Drachmon had ruled the Galactic Empire for 40 years, and in all that time no one had ever seen him truly angry. But as he stood in the Imperial war room, surrounded by his top military commanders, his massive form shook with rage. The reptilian ruler's scales had turned deep red, and his claws scraped against the metal table as he leaned forward. You're telling me that humans, primitive farmers and miners, have made fools of us for 200 years? His voice was low and dangerous. General Vextar, the Empire's top military commander, shifted uncomfortably. The evidence suggests they have been hiding advanced technology since first contact, Your Majesty. I don't want suggestions, General. I want facts. And I want those human ships found and destroyed. Dr. Carter, who had been called to brief the Emperor personally, cleared his throat nervously. Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider diplomatic contact first. If their technology is as advanced as we believe, no. The Emperor's voice cut through the air like a blade. They have deceived us. They have made us look weak. This ends now. He turned to General Vextar. Assemble the Third Fleet. Find these humans and show them what happens when someone challenges the Empire. 3 days later, a massive Imperial armada jumped into the Kepler system, where intelligence reports suggested human activity. The fleet consisted of 50 heavy cruisers, 20 dreadnoughts, and the flagship Eternal Dominion, a massive ship that carried enough firepower to destroy entire worlds. General Vextar stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, confident that no force in the galaxy could stand against such power. Begin wide-range scans, he ordered. Find me those human ships. It didn't take long. The sensors detected 5 ships moving in formation near the system's 4th planet. They were sleek and small compared to the Imperial vessels, each about the size of a light cruiser. 5 ships, reported the sensor operator. Human design, similar to the vessel encountered by Admiral Kexathera. General Vextar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. 5 ships against 50. This will be over quickly. He opened a communication channel. Human vessels, this is General Vextar of the Imperial Fleet. You are ordered to surrender immediately or face destruction. Captain, Paul Jenkins was having breakfast in his quarters aboard the Starforge when the alarm sounded. He was a man in his 50s with gray hair and calm blue eyes that had seen action in dozens of systems the Empire didn't even know existed. He made his way quickly to the bridge, where his crew was already at battle stations. Report, he said, as he took his command chair. 50 Imperial ships just jumped in, sir, said his tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Sam Davis. They're demanding our surrender. Jenkins looked at the tactical display showing the massive Imperial fleet. 50 ships. They're either very brave or very stupid. He activated the communication system. Imperial Fleet, this is Captain Paul Jenkins. You are in violation of neutral space. Withdraw immediately. General Vextar's laughter echoed across the communication channel. Captain Jenkins, you have 5 small ships against the might of the Imperial fleet. Stand down now and you will be treated as prisoners of war. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Jenkins looked around his bridge at his crew. They were young men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. What's our tactical situation, Sam? All 5 ships report ready for combat, sir. The Thunderbolt, Lightning Strike, Stormfront, and Hurricane are standing by for your orders. Jenkins nodded. Signal the fleet. Execute Formation Delta. Let's show these folks what human engineering can do. The 5 human ships suddenly spread out in a pattern that made no sense to Imperial tactical doctrine. Instead of forming a defensive line or trying to retreat, they moved in different directions at impossible speeds. Sir, the human ships are moving at 0.7 light speed, reported the Imperial sensor operator. They're surrounding us. General Vextar frowned. That's impossible. No ship can maneuver like that in a gravity well. The first human ship, the Thunderbolt, opened fire from a distance of 200,000 kilometers. The Imperial fleet's shields lit up as energy beams struck them, but these weren't normal weapons. The beams cut through the Imperial shields like they weren't even there. Shield failure on decks 7 through 12, reported the damage control officer aboard the Eternal Dominion. Sir, their weapons are completely bypassing our defensive systems. Before General Vextar could respond, the other 4 human ships attacked from different angles. The lightning strike hit 3 Imperial cruisers with some kind of gravity weapon that simply crushed their hulls. The Stormfront fired missiles that seemed to phase through armor and explode inside the enemy ships. The Hurricane used energy, beams that caused Imperial vessels to simply break apart at the molecular level. In less than 5 minutes, 15 Imperial ships were either destroyed or disabled. The remaining fleet tried to return fire, but their weapons couldn't even reach the human ships. Every time an Imperial vessel targeted a human ship, it would simply vanish and reappear somewhere else, completely unharmed. This is impossible, General Vextar said, watching his fleet being systematically destroyed. No one has technology like this. Captain Jenkins's voice came over the communication channel, calm and steady. General, you have 2 choices. Withdraw now or watch your entire fleet be destroyed. We don't want to kill anyone, but we will defend ourselves. I will not retreat from primitive humans, Vextar shouted. All ships ramming speed. If we can't outfight them, we'll crush them with our mass. The Imperial dreadnoughts turned toward the human ships, preparing to use their size and armor as weapons. But as they closed the distance, something extraordinary happened. The 5 human ships simply stopped moving and hung motionless in space. Sir, they've stopped, reported the tactical officer. They're just sitting there. General Vextar smiled grimly. They know they can't escape our ram attack. Prepare for impact. But as the Imperial ships closed to within 10,000 kilometers, the human ships began to glow with a strange blue light. The glow grew brighter and brighter until it was almost blinding. Then Captain Jenkins spoke again, and this time his voice was different. Harder. More dangerous. We tried to do this the easy way, General. Now you get to see what happens when you threaten humans who are just trying to mind their own business. The blue glow around the human ships suddenly expanded, creating energy fields that reached out and grabbed the approaching Imperial dreadnoughts. The massive ships, each weighing millions of tons, simply stopped in space as if caught by invisible hands. What's happening? Vextar demanded. Why aren't we moving? Sir, some kind of tractor field has us locked in place. Our engines are at full power, but we can't break free. That's when the real surprise came. A new voice spoke over the communication channel, calm and authoritative. This is General Nick Rodriguez of the Human Defense Force. General Vextar, you have attacked peaceful human vessels in neutral space. Your fleet is now disabled and under our control. On the tactical display, new contacts appeared. Not 5 human ships, but 200. They seemed to materialize out of empty space, surrounding the Imperial fleet completely. Each one was larger than the biggest Imperial dreadnought, and their energy signatures were unlike anything in the Imperial database. General Vextar stared at the display in shock. Where did they come from? "We've been here the whole time, General," Rodriguez replied. "We just didn't want to scare you by showing our full strength right away. That was probably a mistake." The largest of the human ships, easily 3 times the size of the Eternal Dominion, moved closer. Its hull was dark gray and covered with weapons that didn't look like anything the Empire had ever seen. "General Vextar, I'm going to give you one chance to end this peacefully. Order your surviving ships to return to Imperial space. Tell your Emperor that the age of human hiding is over. We're not his subjects anymore, and we're not going to pretend to be weak just to make him feel better." Vextar looked around his bridge at his frightened crew. Half his fleet was destroyed or disabled, and the rest was trapped by technology he couldn't understand. For the first time in his military career, he was completely outmatched. "What are you?" he whispered. General Rodriguez's answer was simple and terrifying. "We're humans, and you just learned why that should scare you." President Helen Murphy had been expecting this day for 20 years, but it still felt strange to sit in the presidential office on New Terra and prepare to address the entire galactic empire. She was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and intelligent green eyes that had watched humanity grow from a hidden civilization into something far greater. "Are we ready?" she asked Admiral Steve Collins, who stood beside her desk in his crisp blue uniform. "All quantum transmission arrays are online, Madam President. Every major world in the Empire will receive this message simultaneously. There's no way they can stop it or jam it." Murphy nodded and activated the recording system. In 30 seconds, her face would appear on screens across thousands of worlds, delivering news that would change the galaxy forever. "Citizens of the Galactic Empire," she began, her voice calm and steady. "My name is Helen Murphy, President of the Human Colonial Union. For 200 years, my people have lived quietly on the edges of your civilization, pretending to be something we were not. Today, that pretense ends." On the Imperial capital, world, Emperor Drachmon sat in his throne room surrounded by his advisors, watching the transmission with growing fury. The human woman on the screen looked completely unafraid, as if she were speaking to equals rather than addressing the ruler of the galaxy. "You know us as farmers and miners," Murphy continued. "Simple people who needed your protection and guidance. This was a lie. We chose to appear weak because we had no interest in conquering or ruling anyone. We wanted only to be left alone to develop our technology and explore the universe in peace." High Counselor Vorth leaned forward in his chair. "She's admitting to conspiracy against the Empire. This is treason." "Quiet," the Emperor hissed. "Let her finish." Murphy's image smiled slightly. "I know this comes as a shock. Your intelligence services are probably scrambling right now to understand how we managed to deceive you for so long. The answer is quite simple. We gave you exactly what you expected to see." Dr. Carter, who was watching from the intelligence headquarters, felt his blood turn cold. Every report, every communication, every piece of evidence about human civilization had been carefully crafted to support the Empire's assumptions. It was the most sophisticated deception in galactic history. But deception was never our goal, Murphy continued. We simply wanted time. Time to develop our science, time to explore beyond the galaxy's edge, time to prepare for what we knew was coming. Admiral Collins stepped into view beside the president. He was a tall man with gray hair and the bearing of someone who had spent his life preparing for war. "I am Admiral Steve Collins, Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces. What you witnessed in the Kepler system was not our most advanced technology. It was not even close. The ships that defeated your fleet were built using technology that is over 50 years old by our standards." The Imperial throne room erupted in angry voices, but Emperor Drachmon raised his hand for silence. His reptilian features showed no emotion, but his scales had turned the deep black color that indicated extreme stress. On the screen, Dr. Rachel Kim appeared beside the other two humans. She was a woman in her 40s with dark hair and the confident manner of someone who understood things beyond normal comprehension. "I am Dr. Rachel Kim, Director of Human Scientific Development. Perhaps a demonstration would help you understand what we have accomplished." The transmission switched to an external view of a human ship in deep space. It was medium-sized, nothing particularly impressive by Imperial standards. But as they watched, the ship began to change. "This is the research vessel New Horizons," Dr. Kim's voice explained. "We are going to demonstrate 3 technologies that we developed in the past century." The ship suddenly became transparent, like glass. Stars could be seen through its hull as if it weren't there at all. "Phase shifting," Dr. Kim explained calmly. "The ability to alter molecular density so that matter can pass through other matter. Very useful for exploration and defense." The ship solidified again, then began to stretch and bend in impossible ways as if space itself were being twisted around it. "Dimensional manipulation. We can fold space-time to create shortcuts through the universe. This is how our ships can appear, to teleport." Finally, the ship seemed to split into dozens of copies of itself, each one looking exactly like the original. Quantum multiplication. The ability to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Each of these ships is equally real until observation forces them to collapse into a single state. The demonstration ended, and the transmission returned to President Murphy's office. The 3 humans looked directly into the camera with expressions of complete confidence. "These technologies are common on our ships," Murphy said. "Every human vessel carries them as standard equipment. We have others that we choose not to demonstrate." Senator John Blake stepped into view, a younger man with brown hair and the earnest expression of someone who genuinely wanted peace. "Are not showing you this to threaten you," Blake said. "We are showing you this because you need to understand the situation. Humanity is not your enemy, but we are also not your subjects. We never were." Murphy resumed speaking. "For the past 300 years, we have been exploring beyond the galactic rim. We have made contact with civilizations that exist between galaxies, species so advanced that they consider our technology primitive. From them, we learned something that changes everything." The transmission showed a star map of the local galactic group. Strange symbols marked positions in the dark space between galaxies. "There are things coming," Murphy said quietly. "Things that view entire galaxies as resources to be consumed. They have destroyed civilizations that were millions of years old. They are coming here, and they will arrive within the next 50 years. Emperor Drachmon felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature in his throne room. "The Galactic Empire as it exists now cannot survive what is coming," Murphy continued. "Neither can humanity despite our technology. The only chance any of us have is to work together, to combine our knowledge and resources to prepare for a war unlike anything this galaxy has ever seen." Admiral Collins stepped forward again. "We have been preparing for this war for 2 centuries. We have ships designed specifically to fight enemies that can consume stars. We have weapons that can destroy matter at the quantum level. We have defensive systems that can hide entire solar systems from detection. But it will not be enough," Murphy said. "We need allies. We need the industrial capacity of the Empire, the warrior cultures of species like the Zephyrians and the Kethran, the scientific knowledge of races like the Altarians. We need everyone." Dr. Kim appeared on screen one final time. "The choice is simple. We can continue to fight each other over who rules this galaxy, and when the real enemy arrives, they will find nothing but ruins. Or we can set aside our differences and build something strong enough to survive." Murphy's image filled the screen again. "Emperor Drachmon, High Counselor Vorth, leaders of all the member species, we offer you a choice. We can be partners in preparing for this war, sharing our technology and knowledge freely. Or we can go our separate ways, and when the end comes, we will each face it alone." The transmission showed one final image. A massive structure in deep space, clearly artificial, moving between distant stars. It was so large that planets looked like dust motes beside it. "This is what defeated the Andromeda Galaxy," Murphy said, quietly. "Our long-range sensors detect 17 of them moving in this direction. They will arrive in approximately 47 years." The transmission ended. Emperor Drachmon sat in his throne room, staring at the blank screen. Around him, his advisors argued and shouted, but their voices seemed to come from very far away. In his mind, he kept seeing that massive structure moving through space, consuming everything in its path. High Counselor Vorth approached the throne carefully. "Your Majesty, what are your orders?" The Emperor was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Summon the full Imperial Council and send a message to President Murphy. Tell her that the Galactic Empire is ready to listen." Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, billions of beings stared at their screens and tried to process what they had just learned. The universe was far larger and more dangerous than anyone had imagined, and the only hope for survival lay in trusting the very people they had believed to be their inferiors. The age of human deception was over. The age of human leadership had begun. 6 months after President Murphy's galaxy-wide broadcast, Fleet Admiral Tony Martinez stood on the observation deck of the massive space station Harmony 1, watching the most incredible sight in galactic history. Spread out before him were over 10,000 ships from dozens of different species, all working together to build something that had never existed before, a truly unified fleet. Martinez was a man in his 50s with dark hair and brown eyes that had seen more of the universe than most people could imagine. He had been chosen to lead the combined Galactic Defense Force, a position that would have been unthinkable just a year ago. "It's remarkable, isn't it?" said Counselor Mary Johnson, joining him at the massive window. She was the head of Human Galactic Relations, a job that required endless patience and diplomatic skill. "Remarkable and terrifying," Martinez replied. 6 months ago, these species were ready to go to war with each other. Now they're sharing their most advanced technology. Through the window, they could see Zephyrian engineers working alongside human technicians to install new shield generators on Imperial cruisers. Altarian scientists were teaching Kethran warriors how to use quantum weapons. It was cooperation on a scale that no one had thought possible, but not everyone was happy about the changes. Captain Dan Foster walked quickly through the corridors of the new joint exploration vessel Unity, trying to reach the bridge before the next crisis erupted. Foster was a veteran human officer who had volunteered to command the first truly integrated crew in galactic history. It had seemed like a good idea at the time. "Captain, we have another problem," reported Lieutenant Sarah Brooks as Foster reached the bridge. Brooks was a young human officer with red hair and the kind of optimism that came from growing up believing that cooperation was always possible. "What is it this time?" Foster asked wearily. "The Zephyrian crew members are refusing to work with the Kethran security team. They say the Kethran are too aggressive and don't follow proper safety protocols." Foster sighed. This was the 5th major dispute this week, and they hadn't even left the shipyard yet. "Where's Commander Velthak?" "In his quarters, sir. He says he won't come out until the Kethran apologize for questioning his technical competence." Foster rubbed his temples. Command school had never prepared him for this. "Get me a communication link to both the Zephyrian and Kethran section leaders. We're going to settle this right now." Meanwhile, in a secure facility deep underground on the Imperial capital world, Dr. Rachel Kim was having her own problems. She stood in a laboratory filled with the most advanced technology from every major species in the galaxy, trying to solve an impossible puzzle. "The quantum resonance patterns don't match," she said to her mixed team of scientists. "Human phase technology uses a completely different approach than Imperial dimensional folding. When we try to combine them, the energy fields cancel each other out." Dr. Geltar, a brilliant Altarian physicist, looked up from his calculations. "Perhaps we're approaching this wrong. Instead of trying to merge the technologies, what if we created a hybrid system that uses both approaches separately?" "That would require twice the power," pointed out Dr. Yexmon, a practical Zephyrian. "Engineer, we have twice the power," Kim replied. "The new fusion cores that the Kethran developed can handle the load. The question is whether we can build it in time." Through the laboratory windows, they could see construction crews working day and night to build the new defensive platforms that would protect the galaxy's core worlds. Every day brought them closer to completion, but also closer to the arrival of the external threat. The threat that Lieutenant Sarah Brooks was thinking about as she studied the long-range sensor data in her small office aboard the Unity. The information was classified at the highest levels, but as the ship's science officer, she had access to the latest intelligence reports. The entities approaching from outside the galaxy were even worse than President Murphy had described. They weren't just ships or weapons. They were something else entirely, something that converted matter and energy into extensions of themselves. Every planet they touched became part of their growing mass. Every ship they encountered was absorbed and transformed, and they were getting closer. "Sarah, you need to see this," called Ensign Mike Patterson from the communication station. Patterson was a young human officer who had been monitoring emergency channels throughout the galaxy. Brooks hurried to his station. "What is it?" "I'm picking up distress signals from the outer rim. The Tau Centauri colony has gone silent, and the automated beacon at Junction Station stopped transmitting 3 hours ago." Brooks felt her blood turn cold. Those positions were still 2 years away from where the enemy was supposed to be. "Are you sure the signals aren't just equipment failures?" "I thought so too until I detected this." Patterson played back a brief recording. It was static mostly, but underneath the noise was something else. A pattern that pulsed and shifted like something alive. "Get this to Admiral Martinez immediately," Brooks ordered. "And send a copy to Dr. Kim's research team. They need to know that our timeline just got a lot shorter." Back on Harmony 1, Admiral Martinez was meeting with the senior commanders from every major species. The room was a careful balance of different environmental needs, with sections adjusted for temperature, gravity, and atmosphere to accommodate everyone. "The situation has changed," Martinez announced without preamble. "Our enemy is moving faster than predicted. They're not following the trajectory we calculated. They're taking a more direct route through the galactic rim." Emperor Drachmon, who now served as the military representative of the Imperial species, leaned forward in his environmental suit. "How much time do we have?" "Best estimate is 18 months instead of 47 years. Maybe less." The room erupted in alarmed voices from a dozen different species. Martinez waited for the noise to die down before continuing. "This changes everything. We can't build the full defensive grid in 18 months. We're going to have to make some hard choices about what to protect and what to sacrifice." General Nick Rodriguez, now serving as Martinez's deputy, activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red zones marked the enemy's projected path, while blue zones showed areas they might be able to defend. "We can protect maybe 30% of inhabited systems," Rodriguez said bluntly. "The rest will have to be evacuated or abandoned." "Unacceptable," growled Commander Kexivoth of the Kethran military. "We do not abandon our worlds." "Then we lose everything," Rodriguez replied calmly. "Your choice." President Murphy's voice came through the communication system from her office on New Terra. "Admiral Martinez, what do you need from us?" "Everything, Madam President. Every ship, every weapon, every piece of technology we can get, and we need it yesterday. You'll have it. Dr. Kim's team has finished the prototype unified defense platform. We're beginning mass production immediately." Counselor Mary Johnson looked around the room at the assembled leaders. "There's something else we need to discuss. The evacuation ships. We're going to need vessels capable of carrying billions of people to safety." "Where?" asked High Counselor Vorth. "If these entities can consume entire galaxies, where is safe?" "Beyond the galactic rim," Johnson replied. "We've identified several star clusters in intergalactic space that should be far enough away to escape detection. It won't be permanent, but it will buy us time." Emperor Drachmon was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice heavy with the weight of leadership. 200 years ago, we thought we were the masters of this galaxy. We believed we were the most advanced civilization in the universe. Now we discover that we're barely children, and there are monsters in the dark that could destroy us without even noticing. But we're not helpless, Martinez said firmly. 6 months ago, we were separate species fighting over territory and resources. Today we're working together, sharing knowledge and technology that individually none of us could have developed. That has to count for something. Captain Foster's voice came through the communication system from the Unity. "Admiral, we've just detected the enemy's advanced scouts entering the outer rim. They're moving faster than anything we've ever seen." The room fell silent. After 18 months of frantic preparation, the moment they had all been dreading was finally here. All ships to battle stations, Martinez ordered. Signal the evacuation fleets to begin immediate departure, and send a message to every world. In the galaxy, the war for survival has begun. Through the windows of Harmony 1, the combined fleet began to move. Human ships with their impossible technology flew alongside Imperial dreadnoughts and Zephyrian cruisers. Kethran fighters escorted Altarian science vessels. It was beautiful and desperate at the same time. Lieutenant Sarah Brooks stood on the bridge of the Unity as the ship prepared to join the fleet. She thought about her family on Earth, now millions of light years away in the evacuation convoy. She thought about the enemy approaching from the darkness between galaxies. And she thought about the impossible alliance that humanity had forged with species that had once considered them primitive. "Ready for departure, Captain," she reported to Foster. "Take us out, Lieutenant. Let's go save the galaxy." The Unity jumped to hyperspace, followed by 10,000 other ships carrying the hopes and dreams of countless civilizations. Lisa Martinez stared at the massive alien ships floating outside the space station's windows. The vessels looked like floating cities made of dark metal and strange lights. Each one was 3 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. She counted 12 of them, all pointed toward Earth like weapons ready to fire. The message had arrived that morning. The Galactic Council wanted an answer. Earth had 30 days to decide. Join them as a protected species or face the consequences. Lisa walked through the council chamber. The room was huge, with seats made for creatures much larger than humans. The walls glowed with symbols she couldn't read. At the center sat the 3 most powerful beings in the galaxy. The first was Admiral Vextar from the Zephyrian Empire. His blue skin looked like leather, and his forearms moved constantly as he spoke. His species had ruled space for over 2,000 years. They built the first jump gates that let ships travel between stars. Next to him sat Theklon, the chief scientist of the Kandari Federation. Her people looked like giant insects with crystal wings. They created most of the technology that kept the galaxy running. Their ships could destroy planets with a single shot. The third leader came from the Altarian Collective. He was tall and thin, with skin that changed colors when he was angry. His people controlled most of the trade routes between systems. "Ambassador Martinez," Admiral Vextar said in his deep voice, "has your species made a decision?" Lisa stood straight and tried not to show her fear. "We need more time to consider your offer." "Offer?" The Altarian leader's skin turned red. "This is not an offer. This is mercy. Your people are too young, too dangerous to be left alone." "We've caused no trouble," Lisa replied. "Humans have followed all galactic laws since we joined the Council." Thekalon's wings buzzed, a sign of annoyance. "Your species learns too quickly. You ask too many questions. You build things without permission. This cannot continue." Lisa knew what they meant. Human scientists had been studying alien technology since first contact 50 years ago. They learned fast, maybe too fast for the aliens' comfort. Every human ship, every human tool was based on alien designs. The aliens made sure of that by controlling what technology humans could access. "We only want to contribute to galactic peace," Lisa said. Admiral Vextar leaned forward. "Peace requires order. Order requires control. Your species refuses to accept its place." The truth was simple. Humans were supposed to be grateful. They were supposed to stay in their corner of space, use only approved technology, and never question the way things worked. But humans didn't work that way. They always wanted to know why, always wanted to improve things, always wanted to reach further. 30 days, the Altarian leader said. "Accept protected status or we will be forced to ensure galactic security." Lisa bowed slightly and left the chamber. As she walked back to her ship, she thought about what protected status really meant. It meant human colonies would be watched. Human ships would need permission to travel. Human scientists would only work on approved projects. It meant the end of human independence. Her ship, the Earth's Hope, was small compared to the alien vessels around it, but it was fast and well-armed. Admiral Jake Collins had insisted on that when she left Earth. The Admiral didn't trust the aliens, and after today, Lisa understood why. The journey back to Earth took 3 days through the jump gate network. Lisa used the time to study reports from human colonies across known space. The pattern was clear. Every species that accepted protected status eventually disappeared into the alien power structure. Their best scientists went to work for the Council. Their resources were managed by alien administrators. Their children learned alien history instead of their own. When Earth appeared on her screens, Lisa felt relieved. The blue and white planet looked peaceful from space, but she knew better. Down there, the most powerful people in human government were waiting for her report. They had to decide the future of their entire species in 30 days. She landed at the secure facility outside Washington. President Karen Walsh was waiting with General Paul Turner and several other officials Lisa didn't recognize. The president looked tired. She had been dealing with alien pressure for months. "What did they say?" President Walsh asked as they walked to the briefing room. "The same thing. Submit or face consequences." Lisa handed over her recorded conversations with the council leaders. General Turner shook his head. "Consequences. They make it sound so civilized. What they mean is invasion." In the briefing room, Lisa described the alien fleet positions and the council's attitude. The aliens weren't bluffing. They had the power to destroy human civilization if they wanted to. Every human knew that. The question was whether humanity would surrender its freedom to survive. "There might be another option," said a woman Lisa hadn't met before. She was young, maybe 40, with the kind of intense eyes that suggested she spent most of her time thinking about complex problems. President Walsh gestured toward the woman. "Lisa, meet Dr. Amy Rodriguez. She heads a classified project that might change everything." Dr. Rodriguez opened a tablet and showed Lisa images of a strange-looking ship. It was smaller than typical human vessels but had an unusual design. Instead of the blocky shape copied from alien technology, this ship looked smooth and organic. "We call it the Liberty," Dr. Rodriguez said. "It uses technology the aliens don't know about. Technology they think is impossible." Lisa studied the images. "What makes it special?" "It doesn't need jump gates," Dr. Rodriguez said quietly. "It can travel between stars on its own, without using the alien network." The room went silent. Lisa understood immediately why this mattered. If humans could travel freely without using alien jump gates, they wouldn't need alien permission. They could explore space independently. They could build colonies the aliens didn't know about. They could become truly free. "Does it work?" Lisa asked. Dr. Rodriguez smiled for the first time since Lisa had met her. "Captain Ben Harper took the first test flight last week. He traveled to the Alpha Centauri system and back in 6 hours. The aliens never detected him." President Walsh leaned forward. "The question now is whether we reveal this capability to force a different negotiation, or whether we keep it secret and prepare for war." Lisa looked out the window at the stars beginning to appear in the evening sky. Somewhere up there, alien ships were watching and waiting. They thought they knew everything about human capabilities. They were about to discover how wrong they were. The fate of humanity would be decided in the next 30 days. But now, at least, they had options the aliens never suspected. Captain Ben Harper sat in the pilot seat of the UES Liberty and watched the stars change color outside his window. The ship moved through space in a way that felt impossible. No vibration, no engine noise, just smooth motion that made distant suns look like streaks of light. "Phase shift complete," said his navigator, Lieutenant Kate Morris. "We're now in the Kepler system, about 40 light-years from Earth." Ben checked his instruments. The journey had taken 12 minutes. Using alien jump gates, the same trip would have required 3 days and permission from 2 different alien authorities. The Liberty had made the journey without any outside help, and without leaving any trace that alien sensors could detect. "Run a full system scan," Ben ordered. "I want to know if anyone noticed us arrive." The scan took 5 minutes. Kate smiled as she read the results. Nothing. No alien ships, no monitoring stations, no automated sensors. We're completely invisible to their detection systems. Ben had been testing the Liberty for 3 weeks now. Every test proved that Dr. Rodriguez and her team had achieved something remarkable. The ship could travel anywhere in the galaxy without using the alien jump gate network. More importantly, it could do so without being detected. Back on Earth, Dr. Rodriguez stood in front of a room full of military officers and government officials. She held a small device that looked like a crystal wrapped in metal wires. It glowed, with a soft blue light that pulsed every few seconds. "This is the heart of our breakthrough," she said. "We call it a phase core. It allows matter to exist in multiple dimensions at the same time." General Turner raised his hand. "Can you explain that in simpler terms?" Dr. Rodriguez put the device on the table. "Think of space like a piece of paper. Aliens punch holes in the paper to travel from one point to another. That's how jump gates work. But we discovered that space has layers like a stack of papers. Our ships can move between layers without punching holes." President Walsh leaned forward. "What are the advantages?" "First, we don't need alien jump gates. Second, we use much less energy than alien ships. Third, when we're between layers, alien sensors can't detect us. We're essentially invisible." The room buzzed with quiet conversations. Everyone understood what this meant. Humans had developed technology that was not just different from alien technology, but potentially superior to it. Dr. Rodriguez continued her presentation. "The aliens have been using the same basic technology for thousands of years. They focus on brute force, using enormous amounts of energy to bend space to their will. We took a different approach. Instead of fighting the natural laws of physics, we work with them." Meanwhile, in the Zephyrian flagship orbiting Earth, Admiral Vextar studied reports from his surveillance teams. For weeks, his sensors had detected strange energy readings from the human homeworld. The readings were unlike anything in the Zephyrian database. "Commander," he called to his second-in-command, "show me the latest scans of human space activities." The commander, a younger Zephyrian named Kextal, activated a holographic display. "Sir, we've detected unusual energy signatures from 17 different locations around the human system. The patterns don't match any known technology." Admiral Vexitar's forearms moved nervously. "Could they have obtained advanced technology? From another species?" "Unlikely, sir. We monitor all technology transfers. The humans have only been given basic propulsion and communication systems. Nothing that could produce these readings." In another part of the galaxy, Captain Riley Stone piloted the UES Defiance through Zephyrian space. Her mission was to gather information about alien military capabilities. For the past 2 weeks, she had been visiting Zephyrian colonies and industrial sites, mapping their defenses and recording their ship movements. The Defiance was a modified version of the Liberty, designed for reconnaissance. It carried advanced sensors and recording equipment but no weapons. Riley's job was to watch and learn, not to fight. "Captain," said her sensor operator, Ensign Mark Taylor, "I'm detecting a large alien fleet in the next system. At least 30 ships, including several command vessels." Riley studied the readings. "Are they moving toward human space?" "No, ma'am. They appear to be conducting training exercises, but their formation suggests they're preparing for large-scale combat operations." Riley made a note in her log. The aliens were building up their military forces, probably preparing for their threatened action against Earth. But they had no idea that human ships were already moving freely through what they considered secure space. Back on the Kandari homeworld, scientist Thecalon reviewed disturbing data in her laboratory. Her research team had been analyzing reports from across the galaxy, and the results were troubling. "The humans are more active than they appear," she told her assistant, a younger Kandari named Ventik. "Our intelligence suggests they have ships operating in systems where they should not be able to travel." Ventik's crystal wings flickered with confusion. "How is that possible? We control all jump gate access. No ship can travel between systems. Without our knowledge." "That's what we believed," Thecalon said. "But the evidence suggests otherwise. Human ships have been observed in the Rigel sector, the Vega system, and the outer colonies of the Altarian Collective. All of these locations are days away from the nearest jump gate that humans have access to. The implications worried Theklan. If humans had developed independent faster-than-light travel, it changed everything. The Galactic Council's power came from controlling interstellar transportation. Without that control, the careful balance of galactic politics could collapse. Dr. Rodriguez finished her briefing on Earth and faced questions from the assembled officials. Secretary of Defense John Clark asked the most important question: how many ships can we build with this technology? The phase cores are complex to manufacture, but we can produce them faster than traditional engines. Give us 6 months, and we can equip 50 ships. Give us 2 years, and we can outfit the entire human fleet. President Walsh stood up. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a decision to make. Do we reveal this capability to the aliens and try to negotiate from a position of strength? Or do we keep it secret and prepare for the worst? General Turner spoke. First, the aliens have made their intentions clear. They want to control us. If we show them what we can do, they might decide we're too dangerous to leave alive. But if we don't show them, said Secretary Clark, they'll proceed with their invasion plans. We'll be forced to fight. Dr. Rodriguez had been quiet during the debate, but now she spoke up. There's a third option. We could give them a demonstration, show them just enough to prove we're not helpless without revealing the full extent of our capabilities. President Walsh nodded slowly. A carefully controlled revelation. Make them think twice about their ultimatum without showing them everything we can do. The meeting continued for another hour, but the basic decision was made. Humanity would not surrender its independence. In 3 weeks, when the alien ultimatum expired, they would show the Galactic Council that humans were not as helpless as they appeared. Captain Harper received new orders that evening. The Liberty would lead a small fleet to the edge of human space, where the alien surveillance ships waited. It would be humanity's first public demonstration of their new capabilities. The aliens were about to discover that their assumptions about human limitations were completely wrong. What happened next would determine whether this revelation led to a new understanding between species or to the first galactic war in centuries. The countdown to confrontation had begun. Captain Lisa Brooks stood on the bridge of the UES horizon and watched the alien fleet through her view screen. 47 massive ships hung in space like metal mountains. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a city. The aliens had brought their best warships to deal with what they thought would be an easy problem. All ships report ready, Captain, said Commander Tony Walsh from his position at the communications station. The human fleet consisted of 12 ships, all equipped with the new phase technology. Compared to the alien vessels, they looked like toys. Admiral Jake Collins appeared on the main screen from his flagship, the UES Defender. Remember, this is a demonstration, not a battle. We want to show them what we can do without starting a war. Lisa nodded. Understood, Admiral. All ships are standing by. 3 days earlier, the alien ultimatum had expired. Instead of surrendering, President Walsh had sent a message to the Galactic Council. Earth requested a meeting at the neutral zone to discuss new terms. The aliens, confident in their overwhelming superiority, had agreed. Now, both fleets faced each other across empty space. The alien commander, Admiral Vextar, had sent his own message that morning. Surrender immediately, or face the consequences. The humans had 1 hour to comply. Dr. Sam Morrison watched the confrontation from Earth's Strategic Command Center. Banks of screens showed data from sensors throughout human space. Every human ship, every defense station, every colony was ready for what might come. Alien fleet is maintaining position, reported Lieutenant Carol Davis. No change in their formation. Dr. Morrison studied the tactical display. The aliens had arranged their ships in a classic attack formation. They expected the humans to either surrender or put up a brief, hopeless fight. They had no idea what was about to happen. Signal from the horizon, announced another technician. Captain Brooks is ready to begin the demonstration. Admiral Vextar sat in his command chair aboard the Zephyrian flagship Eternal Glory. Around him, his officers prepared for what they expected to be a quick show of force. The human ships were tiny compared to Zephyrian vessels. This would be over in minutes. "Human fleet is moving," reported his tactical officer. 12 ships approaching our position. Vextar watched the human ships advance. They moved in a tight formation, their engines glowing blue against the darkness of space. He had seen hundreds of battles. This looked like every other engagement, with a weaker species. The humans would make some gesture of defiance, then realize their hopelessness and surrender. "Sir," said the tactical officer, his voice uncertain, "the human ships just disappeared from our sensors." Vextar's forearms tensed. "Explain." "They were there, and now they're not. No explosion, no energy discharge. They simply vanished." On the bridge of the horizon, Captain Brooks watched the alien fleet through her phase-shifted view screen. The human ships had shifted into dimensional layers that alien sensors couldn't detect. To the aliens, they had simply ceased to exist. Phase. "Shift complete," reported her navigator, Lieutenant Pete Johnson. "All ships are now operating in stealth mode." Lisa smiled. "Begin maneuver pattern Alpha. Let's show them what invisible ships can do." The human fleet moved through space like ghosts. They passed completely through the alien formation, their sensors recording every detail of the alien ships. Engine specifications, weapon placements, shield frequencies, communication channels. Everything. Admiral Vextar stared at his tactical display in confusion. His sensors showed empty space where the human ships had been, but his instincts, developed through decades of combat, told him something was wrong. "Run a full spectrum scan," he ordered. Those ships didn't just disappear. The scan took 3 minutes and revealed nothing. No energy signatures, no gravitational distortions, no trace of the human vessels. It was as if they had never existed. "Sir," called his communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." "Impossible. Our sensors show no ships in range." "The signal is coming from directly behind us." Vextar spun around to face the rear view screen. Empty space stared back at him, but the transmission was clear and strong. A human voice spoke with confidence that made his blood run cold. "Admiral Vextar, this is Captain Brooks of the human fleet. We are currently positioned throughout your formation. Our ships are recording detailed scans of all your vessels. We could disable your engines or weapon systems if we chose to, but we prefer to talk." Vextar's tactical officer frantically worked his controls. "Sir, I'm still detecting nothing. No ships, no energy signatures, nothing." The human voice continued. "We will now demonstrate our capabilities. Please observe your port flank." Suddenly, 6 human ships materialized out of empty space, perfectly positioned between 2 alien cruisers. They hung there for exactly 10 seconds, their weapons powered down, their hulls gleaming in the starlight. Then they vanished again. "Now observe your starboard flank," said Captain Brooks. The same ships appeared on the opposite side of the alien formation, this time arranged in a precise diamond pattern. Again, they remained visible for exactly 10 seconds before disappearing. Panic spread through the alien fleet. Ship commanders flooded the communication channels with confused reports. How were human ships appearing and disappearing at will? How were they moving through solid formations without being detected? On his bridge, Admiral Vextar finally understood. Somehow the humans had developed technology that made their ships invisible to all known sensors. More than that, they could appear anywhere without warning. Every assumption about human limitations had just been proven wrong. "All ships, maintain formation," he ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. "Do not fire unless fired upon." Captain Brooks's voice came through, the speakers again. "Admiral, we have completed our demonstration. Our ships are now returning to their original positions." The human fleet materialized exactly where they had started, 12 small ships facing 47 massive alien vessels. But now everyone understood that size didn't matter if you couldn't see your enemy coming. Dr. Morrison watched the confrontation from Earth with growing excitement. The demonstration had worked perfectly. Human ships had moved through the alien formation like it wasn't there, proving that humanity's new technology was more advanced than anything the aliens possessed. "Communications from the alien fleet," reported Lieutenant Davis. Admiral Vextar is requesting to speak with our commander. Admiral Collins appeared on the main screen. His expression was calm, but Morrison could see the satisfaction in his eyes. Put him through. Admiral Vextar's image filled the screen. His blue skin had turned a darker shade, and his forearms moved with nervous energy. Admiral Collins, I request an immediate ceasefire and negotiation. There is no ceasefire to call, Collins replied. We have not fired a shot. We have simply demonstrated that humanity is not as helpless as you believed. Your technology, Vextar said carefully, it is unlike anything in our databases. How long have you possessed these capabilities? Collins smiled. Long enough to know that your ultimatum was based on false assumptions. Humanity will not accept protected status. We are prepared to defend our independence. The alien admiral was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. I must consult with the Galactic Council. This changes everything. Yes, Collins agreed. It does. You have 3 days to respond with a new proposal, one that treats humanity as an equal partner, not a subject species. The transmission ended. Admiral Vextar stared at his tactical display where the human ships waited calmly in formation. 12 tiny vessels had just demonstrated that they could outmaneuver and potentially destroy his entire fleet. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in the space of 17 minutes. Dr. Morrison leaned back in his chair and allowed himself a small smile. The demonstration had been perfect. Now the aliens knew that humanity could not be easily conquered or controlled. The next move belonged to the Galactic Council, but they would be making that move from a position of weakness rather than strength. The age of human independence had begun. The news spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within 6 hours of the demonstration, every major species knew that humans had revealed impossible technology. Ships that could disappear and reappear at will. Vessels that moved through space without using jump gates. A primitive species had just shown capabilities that surpassed the greatest civilizations in known space. On the Kandari homeworld, scientist Theclon worked through the night analyzing data from the encounter. Her crystal wings buzzed constantly as she studied the sensor readings from Admiral Vextar's fleet. The information made no sense according to everything she knew about physics and engineering. The energy signatures are completely wrong, she told her research team. Human ships should not be able to phase in and out of normal space. The power requirements alone should be impossible for vessels that size. Her assistant Ventique reviewed the tactical reports. According to Zephyrian sensors, the human ships simply ceased to exist. No energy trail, no gravitational wake, no dimensional disturbance. They vanished completely from all detection methods. Theclon's mind raced through possibilities. For 1,000 years, the Kandari Federation had led galactic technology development. They had created the most advanced sensors in known space. If their technology couldn't detect human ships, it meant humans had achieved something that challenged the basic laws of science. Contact the Research Council, she ordered. We need emergency funding for a complete review of human capabilities. Everything we thought we knew about their limitations is wrong. Meanwhile, on the Altarian homeworld, the collective leadership held an emergency session. The chamber where they met could hold 5,000 beings, but today only the most senior leaders were present. The mood was tense and uncertain. Elder Morthak's skin shifted through angry shades of red and orange as he addressed the gathering. The humans have made fools of us all. We offered them protection when we should have been asking for it ourselves. Their demonstration changes everything, said Elder Cavalin, her skin a worried shade of blue. If they can move ships without using jump gates, they don't need our trade networks. They don't need our permission to expand. They don't need us at all. The Altarian Collective had built their power on controlling trade routes between systems. Every species depended on their carefully managed network of commercial agreements and shipping contracts. But if humans could travel anywhere without using established routes, the entire system could collapse. We need to open negotiations immediately, Elder Morthak decided, before they decide we're their enemies. On Earth, General Paul Turner, briefed President Walsh on intelligence reports flooding in from human agents across the galaxy. The demonstration had caused panic on dozens of worlds as alien governments tried to understand what had happened. The Proxima Syndicate has recalled all their fleets to defensive positions, Turner reported. The Centauri Alliance is demanding emergency council sessions. 3 minor species have already sent diplomatic messages asking for direct talks with Earth. President Walsh studied the reports. What about the major powers, the Zephyrians and Kandari? That's where it gets interesting, Turner said with a slight smile. Our sources indicate both empires are experiencing internal conflicts. Some of their leaders want to negotiate with us. Others want to attack before we can deploy more ships with this technology. Dr. Rodriguez entered the briefing room carrying a tablet full of new data. We're intercepting massive amounts of alien communications. They're trying to figure out how our phase technology works. Some of their theories are completely wrong, but a few are getting close to the truth. The truth was something that worried human leadership. Earth's phase technology was still limited. They had 12 operational ships and components for maybe 20 more. If the aliens discovered how few phase-capable vessels humans actually possessed, they might risk an attack despite the demonstration. Captain Julie Davis commanded the UES Victory, one of 3 human ships now operating in the galactic core region. Her mission was to observe alien military movements and report any signs of coordinated action against Earth. What she found surprised her. Commander Bryant, she called to her first officer. Look at these fleet positions. The aliens aren't coordinating their response. They're preparing to defend against each other. Commander Steve Bryant studied the tactical display. You're right, Captain. Zephyrian fleets are moving to secure their borders with Kandari space. The Altarians are pulling back from disputed territories. They're not preparing to attack us. They're afraid of what each other might do. Julie realized the implications immediately. The demonstration hadn't just shown alien leaders that humans were more capable than expected. It had made them question whether their traditional allies might have similar hidden capabilities. Trust between species was breaking down as everyone wondered who else might be hiding advanced technology. In the Zephyrian capital, Supreme Commander Carthex faced the most difficult decision of his long career. His military advisors were divided on how to respond to the human revelation. Half wanted immediate action to eliminate the threat. The other half argued that such action might be impossible given human capabilities. Sir, said General Yexnol, one of his most trusted commanders, we must consider that humans might have even more advanced technology they haven't shown us. If we attack and fail, we could face retaliation that destroys our empire. Another general, Cole Vader, disagreed strongly. Every day we wait, they grow stronger. We should strike now before they can build more of these invisible ships. Carthex studied intelligence reports from across Zephyrian space. Human ships had been detected in 17 different systems over the past month. Not detected by sensors, but by the results of their presence. Industrial sites had been observed. Military installations had been recorded. Communication networks had been monitored. The humans knew more about Zephyrian capabilities than the Zephyrians knew about human ones. They've been watching us for weeks, he said quietly. Studying our defenses, learning our weaknesses. This demonstration was just the beginning. They wanted us to know they could strike anywhere, anytime. The realization frightened him more than any battle he had ever fought. War was predictable. You could prepare for known threats, plan for expected tactics. But how do you fight an enemy that could appear anywhere without warning? How do you defend against ships your sensors couldn't see? Back on Earth, Ambassador Lisa Martinez received an urgent message from the Galactic Council. They wanted to reconvene, negotiations immediately. The tone was very different from their original ultimatum. Instead of demands, they offered discussions. Instead of threats, they suggested mutual cooperation. President Walsh read the message with satisfaction. They're scared. Good. Maybe now we can have a real conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy. Dr. Rodriguez had been monitoring alien research efforts to understand human technology. They're making progress faster than I expected. The Kandari science teams are particularly good. We might have 6 months before they develop countermeasures, maybe less. Then we need to use this time wisely, President Walsh decided. Lisa, prepare for new negotiations. But this time, we go as equals, not as supplicants. General Turner added his own concerns. We need to be ready for anything. Some alien factions still favor military action. If negotiations fail, we could face attacks from multiple directions. The demonstration had achieved its goal of making aliens reconsider their assumptions about human weakness. But it had also started a chain reaction that nobody could fully control. Ancient alliances were straining as species questioned each other's hidden capabilities. Trade networks were disrupting as traditional power balances shifted. The careful order that had maintained galactic peace for centuries was beginning to crack. Captain Davis sent her latest report from the galactic core. Alien military movements suggest they're preparing for multiple scenarios. Some fleets are positioning for possible action against Earth. Others are defending against their traditional rivals. The galaxy is becoming less stable by the day, isn't it? Walsh realized that humanity had opened a door that couldn't be closed. The age of alien dominance was ending, but what would replace it remained uncertain. The next few weeks would determine whether the galaxy moved toward a new order based on cooperation and respect, or descended into chaos as old certainties collapsed. The human demonstration had succeeded beyond all expectations. Now came the much harder task of managing the consequences. 3 months after the demonstration, Ambassador Lisa Martinez walked into the Galactic Council chamber for the most important meeting in human history. The room looked the same, but everything else had changed. The alien leaders who had once demanded humanity's surrender now waited nervously for Earth's proposals. The past weeks had been filled with intense negotiations, not just between humans and aliens, but between alien species themselves. The revelation of human technology had shattered old assumptions and forced everyone to reconsider their relationships with each other. President Walsh had chosen Lisa to present humanity's vision for a new galactic order. The document she carried represented months of work by Earth's best minds. It proposed a complete restructuring of how species interacted, traded, and governed themselves across the galaxy. Admiral Vextar sat in his usual position, but his confident demeanor was gone. The Zephyrian Empire had spent the last 3 months trying to understand how their technology had become obsolete overnight. Their scientists still couldn't explain how human ships achieved invisibility and instant travel. Ambassador Martinez, he said formally, the Council is ready to hear Earth's proposals. Lisa activated a holographic display that showed the current galactic map. Colored regions marked the territories controlled by different species, connected by lines representing jump gate routes. It was a system that had remained unchanged for over 1,000 years. The current structure assumes that some species are naturally superior to others, Lisa began. It grants power based on age and past achievements rather than current capabilities. This system has become obsolete. She changed the display to show a new configuration. Instead of rigid territorial boundaries, the map showed flexible zones of influence. Instead of controlled jump gate routes, it displayed open travel corridors that any species could use. Theklan's crystal wings buzzed with agitation. You propose chaos. Without controlled expansion and regulated technology transfer, younger species could develop weapons that threaten galactic stability. Like we did? Lisa asked calmly. We developed our phase technology without any guidance or oversight from this council. Yet we chose to use it for exploration and defense, not conquest. Perhaps the problem isn't uncontrolled development, but the assumption that some species can't be trusted with advanced capabilities. The Altarian elder Morthak shifted uncomfortably. His skin displayed patterns of worried blue and uncertain yellow. Your species is exceptional. Most younger civilizations are not as responsible. According to who? Lisa challenged. Every species sitting in this chamber was once young and developing. You all somehow managed to achieve advanced technology without destroying the galaxy. Why should we assume others can't do the same? Admiral Collins appeared on a communication screen from his position aboard the UES Defender, now orbiting the Council station. Behind him, other screens showed human ships positioned throughout the local system, not as a threat, but as a reminder that humanity could no longer be ignored or controlled. The current system stagnated galactic development, Collins said. For centuries, the same technologies have been recycled and refined, but no real breakthroughs have been achieved. Humanity's phase technology proves that innovation comes from freedom, not from controlled research programs. Theklan couldn't argue with that. Her own research had confirmed that Kandari technology hadn't made any major advances in over 500 years. The focus on control and stability had eliminated the risk-taking and experimentation that drove true innovation. Lisa continued her presentation. We propose a new framework based on cooperation rather than domination, open technology, sharing between willing partners, unrestricted travel for peaceful purposes, and most importantly, representation in galactic governance based on current contributions, not historical power. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. What Lisa was describing would end the dominance of the traditional powers and create opportunities for species that had been marginalized for centuries. Captain Alex Torres, commanding the UES Explorer in the Outer Rim territories, sent a report that Lisa shared with the Council. Over the past month, we've made contact with 12 species that were never invited to join galactic civilization. Their exclusion wasn't based on their capabilities or peaceful intentions, but simply on their location outside established trade routes. The report included detailed information about these species. Some had developed impressive technologies of their own. Others had rich cultural traditions that could benefit everyone. All had been ignored because they didn't fit into the existing power structure. These species have been waiting for centuries for the opportunity to participate in galactic civilization, Lisa explained. The current system denied them that chance because acknowledging them would have complicated the neat boundaries between traditional territories. Supreme Commander Karthek spoke for the first time during the session. What you propose would fundamentally alter the balance of power that has maintained peace for over a millennium. Has it maintained peace? Lisa asked. Or has it simply suppressed conflicts by denying weaker species the ability to challenge stronger ones? Real peace comes from justice and equality, not from enforced submission. Dr. Rodriguez joined the conversation via communication link from Earth. Our analysis of galactic conflicts over the past 1,000 years shows a clear pattern. Most wars began when suppressed species finally developed enough power to challenge their oppressors. The current system doesn't prevent conflicts, it just delays them until they become more destructive. The Council debated for hours. Some alien leaders argued for maintaining traditional structures with minor modifications. Others pushed for even more radical changes than humanity proposed. But gradually a consensus emerged. Elder Kavlin was the first to formally accept the human proposals. The Altarian Collective agrees to participate in this new framework. We've seen what happens when we underestimate other species. It's time to try a different approach. One by one, other leaders followed. Even Admiral Vextar eventually agreed, though he insisted on gradual implementation rather than immediate changes. The new Galactic Accords were signed 6 weeks later. The document established principles of technological freedom, open exploration, and equal representation. Most importantly, it created mechanisms for peaceful species to develop and share advanced capabilities without requiring permission from traditional powers. Captain Sarah Johnson commanded the UES Pathfinder as it prepared for humanity's first mission under the new Accords. Her ship would lead a joint expedition to the Galactic Rim, exploring regions that had been off-limits under the old system. The crew included volunteers from 7 different species, all working together as equals. Phase drive is ready, reported her engineer, Lieutenant Mike Chen. All alien observers are secure and prepared for dimensional transition. Sarah smiled as she looked around the bridge. Human and alien crew members worked side by side, sharing knowledge and expertise that had been kept separate for centuries. This was what the new galaxy could look like. Engage phase drive, she ordered. The Pathfinder shifted into dimensional layers and began its journey toward unknown space. Behind them, other ships prepared for similar missions. The galaxy was opening up in ways that hadn't been possible for over 1,000 years. Dr. Rodriguez watched the departure from Earth's observation deck. The changes humanity had started were spreading faster than anyone had expected. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now collaborating on research projects. Trade routes that had been monopolized by powerful empires were opening to smaller civilizations. Technologies that had been carefully controlled were being shared freely among peaceful species. President Walsh joined her on the observation deck. Any regrets about opening this door? Dr. Rodriguez considered the question carefully. The galaxy was already changing. We just helped it change in the right direction. The old system was breaking down anyway. At least now we have a chance to build something better. Above them, the stars looked the same as they always had. But humanity now knew that those distant suns were no longer unreachable destinations controlled by alien gatekeepers. They were opportunities for exploration, cooperation, and discovery that belonged to everyone willing to reach for them. The age of human independence had become the age of galactic freedom. What had started as a desperate defense of human rights had evolved into a transformation that lifted up all